have been above 86%. But with how the math broke down this time, 3B is our first victor to our math competition or math homework competition. So if you don't have this, you need to raise your hand or come up and get it from me right now. And this probably isn't done because we didn't get to it in class. We're going to start there today. So we're starting on 18 for checking answers.
I did it.
I mean, if you did, sweet. So starting on 18. Starting on 18. Starting on 18. Oh, shoot. What questions do we have? Yeah, Maddie.
I'm confused on C of 522. Oh, yeah, that one.
Did you distribute the negative to both the y and this 2, making it 2 minus y minus 2? So what should happen here, I'll walk through it step by step, but what should happen, so Maddie, go ahead and look up here. We got to distribute this negative to everything in the parentheses after it.
I thought you distributed the 2 and the negative.
No, because this is saying the opposite of these things. That 2 is not multiplying. The negative, guys, if we want to rewrite this, that's what this really is. There's always a 1. Remember, there's always a 1. So this is saying 2 minus 1 of y plus 2. Well, if I minus a y and minus a 2, well, really, they're both becoming negative. So this should be 2, a negative y, and a negative 2. But you could write them as subtraction since most of you are stuck on subtraction. The 2 and the minus 2 cancel each other out. And the only number that could possibly satisfy the opposite of y equals 3y, or if I add y to both sides, what I get is actually 0 equals 4y.
That's not how that works. So
Yeah, it is how it works. If I pay Brenda 4 times what I used to pay my students for doing attendance, but she still gets paid 0, that means I used to pay 0. Now, fortunately, instead of multiplying what I used to pay people, we've decided to add, and adding does have an impact. But if you multiply by 0, so y being 0 makes this true. That is how it can work. This is not a contradictory. This is not no solution. This is not all real numbers. It's just 0. So, Maddie, by the amount of O's I'm hearing, apparently your class appreciates that you asked about that question. Other questions exactly like what Maddie just did. I don't understand how that answer got there. Max.
Okay, so this one, I just couldn't understand the question in general because I didn't even get an answer because I couldn't
Which one?
do it. 5 points. It's usually my least favorite kind of problem. So that puts the cherry on top.
Well, it doesn't really matter if it's your favorite kind of problem or not. What matters is what screwed you up. I don't care about that part. What I care about is what screwed you up. Hey, if you're not Max, stop talking. What part of this problem? I don't care about your opinions. I care mathematically what messed you up.
Okay, so I just can't it just
Tell me what they tell you about candidate B.
Candidate B, you should find somebody versus candidate A.
All right, stop right there. How could I write down B has, had, got, gets, whatever? It's an equal sign, right? How do I write down B has twice as many as A has? Here, I'm talking with Max. So sorry, other hands. My goal here is to try to help get Max through this problem without me actually doing anything. And then I like to play that teacher flex where I'm like, you didn't need me, you did this all on your own. So, Max, what do you know about candidate B? 2A. What do we know about candidate C? Notice how I'm going to change colors now to help my brain out.
It's A minus 15,000.
Now here's the part where one of my favorite Reddit pages, Facepalm. What do we know about candidate A? Candidate A is candidate A. A is A.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
The total, guys, seriously, this is what most people have, like, if you are stuck on this problem, you forget to just go ahead and say A is A. The total, 109,000 votes were cast. Okay, so to total, I'm going to do A plus B plus C equals 109,000. Not how I should say that number. A is A. B is double A. C is
Parentheses.
15,000 fewer, right? Max already told me A minus 15,000.
Would you like to see what I exactly did on my paper? It's that.
I'm sure it's beautiful, but because I'm trying to help Max through this, what I really care about is Max here. Max, can I put these A's together?
Yeah. No.
What do I get now?
4A.
4A
Minus 9,000.
Could you solve it from here?
Wait a second. Let me write this down. Yes, you could. I mean, yeah.
Did I actually do anything to help you?
Yep.
Not really. All I did was ask you questions. All I did was ask you questions. Guys, everything I'm trying to teach you this year is how to ask yourself.
Stop playing the fool. You're not a fool.
Other questions? Hey, once we know what A is, then we can figure out what everything else is. Max.
I'm confused about 519. There is an actual definite answer. Like, what do you mean answers will vary? It's always gonna be no. What? Yeah, it's always gonna be no. Yes,
So
it's not answers will vary. It's
Um,
no.
I promise you, you could argue different answers. I'm not going to take the time to go into how, because that would, spoil the aha of my lesson. So, I promise you, I'm not looking for a specific answer. I need you. Now, here's the trick. You obviously can't write down answers will vary, and there's nothing to copy from there. So you have to make up your own answer, defending it with your own thoughts that came from your own brain. Copying is not an option. All right, moving on, because the answers are on my YouTube, which of course you can refer back to at any point. If you cannot turn in 512, you should have come to math lunch today. So, if you don't get 521 done tonight, which I'm about to pass, actually, I'll probably let you just grab it when you bring up your homework. If you don't get 521 done tonight, you should probably come to math lunch tomorrow. So, as you bring up we're going to do this first. I forgot. This is why I put that there, to remind me what to do. So, this is on the front of your worksheet. We're going to do it real quick, just to make sure that we all understand what we did last week. Amelia?
The next step is they added 6 on each side.
They did not add 6 on each side. I know what you meant to say, though. Try again. I know what you meant to say. I don't think you meant to say added, because that's a mathematical operation. And this operation is not addition.
It's something else.
What is between the 6 and the parentheses, Amelia?
There's nothing.
Yeah, there is. We just can't see it.
This is a multiply sign.
Yeah, this is always multiplication. So, guys, what we're going to write here, guys, we're doing this together, so there's no excuse for this to not be done when you turn in your homework, is multiply, so we can abbreviate MULT, multiply both sides by the common denominator, which you can abbreviate CD if you want, because no one uses compact discs anymore.
Isn't that just fraction bustle? I'm gonna show you my
Yeah,
fraction real quick.
that is the nickname for that is Fraction Buster.
Can I put that down?
I mean, sure, as long as then in parentheses just put like CD or something, so you remember it's the common denominator. That's what we're actually looking for.
Can I show my pencil?
Yeah, go fast. This is what people are probably like, well, duh. They're just doing it. Do you know what to put here, Anna? Sure. It is not actually.
Can I say it?
Sure, Amelia.
Did they distribute the 6?
Yeah, distribute the multiplication. So the 6 had to come here and the 6 had to come there. They distributed the multiplication. Yeah, what is it? Yep. And the next one is still simplify, or you could have said combine like terms. You got to comb those like terms together. Get it? Because to abbreviate combine, it's comb. And then what do we do to get from step D to step E? Yeah, divide by 17. You actually cannot say simplify because that's not simplifying. It is an operation done to both sides. So you do have to say divide. Yes.
Oh wait, never mind.
This should be done now. Turn it in if it is, and if it isn't, I should probably see you at extensions or at some point. Your next homework is right up here. Get it as you turn in your paper. Nevin is mad at me because he wanted the homework earlier and I would not give it to him.
I have nothing else to do, so I just want to get it done so I don't have anything to do with sentence.
Yo,
Oh wait, Mr. Hudson. I forgot to ask
you can hang on to it, but make sure you remember to come ask that question. What's
I
up?
forgot to ask you another question about the homework.
Which?
Do you have a pencil? 521C.
I appreciate that you're looking to check if your name is on there.
Mr. Hudson, is it okay if I turn in 512 and not 511? Because I have not done the front.
Yeah, that's fine. I know that you still need to do the back. So, did you get an equation different than 3x minus 2?
I didn't get an equation at all.
So, the way that they got that equation, you actually have an equation. You just don't realize it. This triangle that you just drew, that shows your slope of going up 3 over 1. And the y-intercept is negative 2.
Ah, okay.
Hey, gentlemen, really?
So, like, the 3x is just like the up thing? and
Yep,
then,
so
like,
the thing that goes in front of the x,
yeah.
that's always our change that gets represented by this
And
triangle.
then, like, the next thing is like the y.
Yep, is where we cross the y-axis. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There we go. So, Amtrak is actually debating. Guys, I'm not. This is not me making stuff up. This is not me making stuff up. This is real. Amtrak is debating creating a high speed. What are you doing?
I can't find my.
Yeah, you're gonna do the same thing you did last week, and you're about to steal my copy. Jake stole my copy of the homework last week, and then it didn't have a back on it, which was a giant red flag to him of like, wait a minute. Every homework we've ever had has a back on it.
I know it's evil.
And that's because my copy of the homework does not have a back so that I can write in pen and it doesn't bleed through. So Amtrak is thinking about installing a high-speed train that would connect Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati.
The
Yeah.
three biggest cities.
My grandpa is actually involved in that.
Nice. That's super
Yeah.
cool. So if it happens, we should probably talk more about this. But, so as you think about going from Cleveland down to Columbus, down to Cincinnati. No, Cleveland is north.
Yeah.
Okay, you meant other way that way. Well, I'm there. Fine. It's all which way am I turned? I'm not here to teach geography. You notice I took down my map to show you guys that you didn't win. Do better. But do better. It's not my fault. Do better.
Guys, we got last place.
Do good better. It really, guys, I will be honest. Your denominator has gotten smaller this year. You're the smallest class of kids I teach. Like, there are 19 of you because we lost 3 students from the same class.
Because they hate us so much.
Actually, they miss us, and at least Aiden is coming to Turkey Bowl with us. I don't think Aharon can because he has school. I kind of want Aharon to join math counts and just come every Monday at extensions. But, okay, so we got to get back on topic because we're way behind.
Who's
Like,
the third person?
dude, that hurts.
Oh, Malachi.
Malachi.
Isn't he less
Malachi,
alone? I don't
Aharon,
remember.
and Aiden.
Yeah,
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to get at. If, and fine, we'll try to draw it like it's meant to be. If we're going to make a railroad that goes from Cleveland through Columbus down to Cincinnati, I'm betting that when they get to Columbus, what's the loop that goes around Columbus? What's the highway? What's that loop? 270. It's either gonna have to go beneath 270, like if you're headed up to that side of Worthington and you take that road beneath 270, or it's gonna have to go over 270, like if you head towards that side of Worthington and you go over 315, right? The highway takes you over, or the road takes you over the highway, versus that way you go under the highway. That's an intersection. Right? Now, if Amtrak said, we're going to create a loop train for Columbus that follows 270, would it necessarily have to intersect? No. Okay. Interesting idea. Maddie? Yeah, I am. Thank you very much. I know, it's like disappeared right now, except for over here. I don't know exactly why. So, if you do not know this about me, I am not quite sure why, but I own 3 Siberian Huskies, and then also a German Shepherd. And that's real, like, all this has been real today. Yeah, so sled dogs, right? So why people think of Huskies as sled dogs is the famous race called the Iditarod. So the Iditarod is up in Alaska, starts in Fairbanks, it goes like way, Nome, that's where it goes to, but Alaska doesn't have that many places, excuse me, because they're all huge, and then there's like nothing between them. So along the route, there are stations where competitors check in. Data is kept on the progress of each team. So Jola and her team of dogs have made it through the first 5 checkpoints. Her buddy Evie left Nome the finish line on the day the race started. Where the heck is my mouse? There we go. Day the race started in an effort to meet Jola and offer encouragement. Evie traveled along the route towards the racers on her snowmobile. Progress of each person is shown in the graph. So, down here, I'm not scrolling the whole way intentionally. We have a graph plotting Evie's location and Jola's location. I want you guys to go ahead and, using what we see here, go and try to answer these questions of how long was the race and how can we tell? Who traveled faster and how do we know? And how long did it take Jola to finish the race? And how did we find our answer?
Why don't we do what? I'm surprised you used how instead of why. Oh, yeah. What are the triangles?
That's a good question.
They're annoying because they're not on a line. Like, I don't know what poop means.
So I'm guessing this is important. Her buddy Evie left Nome on the day the race started. So if we come down here,
She went this way.
She went
So-
the wrong way. That's no or Evie. That's Evie and the other.
yeah,
one
but
was
if they
Jola.
were in Nome, they'd have to leave where they're at.
But they didn't start at no. That's the
So-
point.
All right, Jake, stand up. Stay there. Oh, don't say it. Say Paul. Jake was just about to follow me. Third point from the third line. So Jake is about to start his race from Fairbanks. Don't actually run. You got way too. So all right, you get on your sled. Ready? All right. So he's in Fairbanks. Don't whip your dog. That's mean. You yell at him. You yell
Go!
at him.
Go! Go!
So I'm in Nome, right? I'm in Nome. Go. High five! Good luck! Woo! He keeps going towards the finish line, and I'd like to either like turn and head back towards the finish line. Do we need to start in the same place to get to the same place? No! So I want you to analyze this graph and say, if I started in Nome, you can grab a seat, thank you very much, and Jola started at the start line, how can we use this graph to figure out how long the race is? How can we use this graph to predict how long it takes Jola? How can we use this graph to predict where they cross each other? I want you guys to think up some ideas, and then we'll random card to get contributions from your teams of what I should do up here.
My
Great.
genius
All I
mind.
want you to do right now is talk to each other.
Circles are faster than
Let's say oil is the triangle and Evie is the circle. Yeah, like our circle, dude.
I think 10.
Wait, can I go up there and get a photo?
Sure.
His eyes are hurting.
I've tried.
You a bastard,
My hands wouldn't hand. Nevin. Give me one thing you guys talked about. Just one.
Well, I think about the length of the race.
Okay, what do you think about the length of the race?
I think it's 90 miles.
You think it's 90 miles. Why do you think that?
Because from what I can tell, the circles is person on the snowmobile, the triangle is person on the dog sled. Clearly one is going faster than the other.
Oh, because from Fairbanks. So if the race actually starts in Fairbanks, Nevin was able to say, well, the triangles must be the person in the race because they started at Fairbanks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right? I dig it. I like it. We're going to take that as your 1 point of info. The triangle was our racer. Russell, give me something your team talked about.
We talked about who traveled faster.
How'd you talk about who traveled faster?
We talked about because when you think about the dogs, and I mean, Joel itself has to take care of the break and rest. The dogs are constantly moving, and the snowmobile can just keep them automatic.
Well, yeah.
Well, you can have like 100 miles.
Wow, Aiden's throwing his voice all over the room now.
I'll catch it. I got it.
Max K, tell me something your team talked about.
Basically for them to like if they just like don't stop, then like they'll eventually like go on to look at our stuff and be, you know. If they don't stop in the direction that they're like going on the drop.
Also, one thing I want to say.
I don't know.
Sorry, Max, what was that again? Because you're in Colin's group, and he feels this strong desire to talk over you. But what was your point again?
Basically, like if they don't stop and of course.
Wait, you keep trailing out. If they don't stop, they'll eventually. So if they don't stop, right? If they kept going, because we only have a couple data points. If they kept going, so if we were able to extend these lines, they're gonna meet each other, right? Like at some point, they're gonna meet each other. I agree, absolutely. That's the intersection of two lines. This is where they can get together and be like, yo, have a great rest of your race. Like, want to have dinner real quick? Because actually, most of the time, they only have like a certain distance to go. They clock in with how long it took them, and then they sleep for the night. And they let the dogs have a break and everything else. They do not just go continuously. Colin, your card was actually next, ironically.
So, something I want to say is that it says that Evie left when the race started, so I don't think it would start at 9 a.m.
Ooh, Evie met when the race started. Meaning what about time when Evie left?
It must have been closer to 1:20.
Evie's, like, all these missing dots doesn't mean Evie wasn't traveling. So if we extend that line back to the y-axis, looks like how far away is about 110, right? Like close to approximately, we know these aren't perfect, but about 110 is probably when Evie left. Approximately how long into the race was it when they crossed paths? Huh?
7.
Between like 9 and 10 hours.
Oh.
Right? Like between like 9 and 10 hours.
9 hours and 45 minutes.
Has anyone ever, and this would be like from watching TV or whatnot, has anyone ever heard these like, they're kind of famous, but I don't know if saying that is appropriate right now, of like a train leaves New York City going such and such miles an hour at such and such time, and another train leaves Florida going such and such miles at such and such time. Where will the two trains meet? Right? And actually, this became kind of a famous math problem after train crashes started happening. Like, not really funny, actually, because people died. Trains were on the wrong tracks. Like, trains were accidentally going the wrong speed, on the wrong tracks, at the wrong time, and, like, train crashes started to happen. So it became all the more important of, like, okay, let's do the math and figure out when will this train be off of this track, and the next train can be on the track, right? Because trains go both directions on tracks. It all depends on if one is switched off of it and, like, taking a break, or is, like, loading up or whatever. Like, trains can run either way on their tracks. Sounds like something Mathco would do, yes. If we were going to anticipate how long, hey, we can use this to do a lot of other things. I just want to do it before we move on. If we're saying that the race is approximately 110 miles long, then we can take Jola's data and say approximately how long does it look like it took them to finish the race if they stayed at the same pace. About 22 hours, right? 21, 22, somewhere around there. That's if they kept the same pace. Right? Now wait, who's going faster? Evie. Because they travel the same distance in less time. Their line is actually steeper, but it's going down instead of going up.
It's a lot steeper.
Alright. Now on your graph paper, go ahead and write down point of intersection. Well, okay, so our title for today, if we want to start there, if you feel like starting with a title, is that this is 521, and we're talking about systems of of equations. That joke would have gotten at least a chuckle years ago. But it doesn't matter if you chuckle or not. What matters is if you even get the reference, and you probably don't. System of a Down, which is actually a band, but they are not probably popular anymore. What is a band? A group of people with instruments. Alright, so your task right now with your team, hey friends, as I walk around and pass out papers and check if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Are we searching for a pencil? Guys, we all need to restock our binders. We all need to restock our binders. I have a pencil up there, but I'm like out of extra pencils. I gotta go steal some from the pod.
I have plenty of pencils. I just needed a pen. I just ran out of
Why do you need a pen?
Because pens
That's
are
really
better.
hot.
I just ran out of erasers.
Your team, well, each of you, is going to graph these two equations. And you're going to try to determine with the closest accuracy you can at what point do they intersect with each other.
I don't know.
And you might not know this yet, but I can look at them and immediately tell you they'll intersect. They have to. I could likewise look at two equations and say, nope, they never intersect. And there's a very not difficult way of doing this that we'll talk about in a minute.
I can say.
Yeah, but I don't want you to right now.
I see the equation.
Yeah, you do your best. Saturn rings.
Yes, Saturn rings.
If anyone at your group is struggling, please offer to help them out. Like if we don't remember what is the y-intercept, or if we don't remember what is the slope, or how to draw these things, or how to set up a graph, or the fact that we'll need both positive and negative here for the y-axis.
Never. I'll never shut up. That's
I'm a little concerned because I think I had you as a missing. No, not for this homework. For some reason, I'm thinking you owe me something. I'm just not sure what it is.
money. I mean, I have a grab something from like $10. Like, me too.
What goes up must come down. It's a song from like the 70s.
Have you ever been with me?
I know, right? It's also gravity. I forget it. I really do not think it was something. I see some people with incomplete graphs. Or the green function. What's your y-intercept? And what's your slope?
4. -3. Your slope is 3.
Negative.
So your green line should be starting, quote unquote starting, at -4, going up 3 every time it goes over 1. We should be going up 3 every time we go over 1. Going up 3 every time we go over 1. Conversely, there's not enough floor space anymore. Conversely, the y-intercept of the blue line, +6, and the slope is -2.
Well, if you multiply them, then you can code. Negative code.
Divide that by 6.
Negative code X.
Guys, make sure you got homework with your name on it. I still have lots of no-name papers living over in my land of no-names. They are sad. They would like to be claimed and loved and able to be entered into the grade book.
What's their name?
They don't have names. That's why they're so sad.
No, it's name or question mark.
What's their parents?
What's their parents'
What's
name? What's their parents' name?
You don't know how to name when you do count.
No, because I don't know who to
What's
count
their
it for.
parents' name?
That's a silly question.
That looks like.
I don't care.
Guys, we're not on 3. So.
Am I crazy? We don't have Spencer here today, right?
He said like.
No, guys, we're not on any of the 3s.
That's what I thought he was on vacation. But.
Oh, this one looks nice.
All right,
It's
now.
not.
I'm gonna take this one and name it as my own.
It's a 2.
Hey, you're touching the board and you're messing things. Like I can't control my computer. Sit down. Sit down. Grab a seat.
I said one intersection.
Now, here's the deal. What I'm about to show you assumes that you are mature enough to handle me showing you something that you could essentially use to cheat.
That's a bad idea.
But it won't work when we get to the mastery because you won't know how to do what I ask you to do. So if all you ever do is use this thing I'm about to show you, it won't actually work out. If you wanted to check, did I do this correctly on my paper because I'm a human and I make mistakes, we can use a graphing utility to help us out. What's a utility? It's anything that uses technology or like something else.
Oh.
You're so smart.
So if I go to Desmos.com and I graph my green line, y equals 3x minus 4, and I graph my blue line, negative 2x plus 6, which is funny, I don't even need to type in the y equals. It assumes I'm saying y equals. I can then double check where do they intersect. Now, if your homework says graph the lines, you are to graph the lines. If it says just find the intersection point, you can just use technology or whatever. But if it asks you to make a graph, you need to make a graph. Because we're still practicing scaling graphs and like showing the numbers and showing the slope triangle and all that stuff.
It makes a very weird X.
Alright, so y. Right? Not y as in y equals, but y.
Yeah, why?
The reason... Hey, go ahead and just give me your eyes for a second. The reason we care about the point of intersection is most of the times that we're dealing with situations like this, it's a really important point. Such as, when will my business be profitable? Right? Like if I'm starting a small business and I'm trying to do the math of like, if we have costs and expenses and things like that and then like money coming in, the point of intersection is going to tell me when I actually make profit. Versus when I'm just losing money. And if all I ever do is lose money, I'm going to lose my business. So other things like this, time of the year when like places switch, sometimes like grandmas and grandpas will be like, well, it's getting cold here, so I'm going to go there because the temperature there is coming up and the temperature here is going down. Sometimes if you're deciding how to make something, like we've got some Phoenix people with small businesses already, and if they're debating between a handmade object staying the same price no matter what we, like, whatever the number of tortillas manufactured, or if we get a machine to do it, at a certain point I save a bunch of money. Graphs like this. The tortoise and the hare. What happened in the tortoise and the hare? The hare was stupid and waited a super long time. And if the finish line of the race is right here, the hare doesn't have time to catch up because he's stupid. And he doesn't understand point of intersection. Have a great day, guys. That's it. That's it. Do your homework.
I'm I'm joking. You're never a liar. Liars don't lie.
So just so I can